criticize news editors in this country. And I'm criticizing them because they are precipitating, precipitate means to hasten the occurrence of, they are precipitating the decline in standards in our profession. And what has given rise to my comment? Well, yesterday we had a brief discussion in our production meeting about post-cabinet press briefings. And when I reviewed the attendance of young journalists at post-cabinet press briefings and their participation at post-cabinet press briefings, I have no choice but to call out their leaders, their managers, the people who function as editors, senior editors in news organizations throughout this land. Let me say that it is policy here at Nationwide 90 FM. Post-cabinet press briefing is mandatory for reporters, meaning you have to be there physically present and prepared based on who they say will be coming to ask questions. Before my time, you had COVID, and then the COVID spill over. So you had, when these events were held, people do them remotely. I said, no, I don't want any remote coverage of any press briefing. Whichever reporter there has to have their seat, have their backside on a seat in the room, in the fray, to ask questions. And the day that I am looking at post-cabinet press briefing, and there's not a reporter from this organization here, then the editors know what will happen. They know I will call, and they know I won't be pleased. And not because the CEO will call me and he'll not be pleased. No, it's not just that alone. It's because I recognize the importance of having a reporter in the room, of having journalism expressed in that way, where the reporter is engaging directly with the minister or ministers who have taken time to come to post-cabinet press briefing. So I'm absolving us of blame because there have been times when the only reporter at a post-cabinet press briefing is the Nationwide reporter. It's happened more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, more than 4 times. Whole heap of times it has happened. We are the only ones. And until Master God come back and lock this down, when there's a post-cabinet press briefing, we will be there physically. Set that aside. One of the reasons I came back to this side of the business, I spent years in sport and I enjoyed every minute of it. I remember Cliff and I had a meeting at the Chinese restaurant on Cargill Avenue. What's the name again?
Golden
Bowl. Yeah,
maybe?
yeah. It was in November. And he said to me, boy, editorial leadership is dying in this country. And because editorial leadership is dying, standards have taken a tumble right across the spectrum in this business. And I agreed with him. It was a very strong point. I never thought of it like that before, but he made the point very starkly. And I committed to assisting with the revival of same. Editorial leadership requires you in an organization with young reporters to recognize opportunities for those reporters to improve. Recognize opportunities for those reporters to take several steps forward in their advancement to becoming real assets to the company. Editorial leadership requires you to always put your young staff, your young reporters in a position where they can interface with power brokers to build their confidence And a more confident reporter is going to give you better results. But news editors across this land, some of them not up to mark, not up to scratch in real terms. They're just functioning. So maybe my complaint is wasted because they can't do better. But there are some very, very good ones who will go down in the history of this business as being among the best, who have fallen lazy and are not seeing to it that their youngsters get the exposure. You see, it is easy to say, boy, post cab go on. Turn on the TV or turn on your computer and run in the audio. And then listen back and give me 2 clips for a story. It's easy. That's the easy way. But that's not the best way. It does not help your news organization. It does not help the reporter. And it does nothing for building the reputation and credibility of the news organization. But then again, people say, why build credibility and try to build reputation when we can just there every day and get my pay at the end of the month and just go through? And again, that's lazy. Editorial leadership will dictate that your reporter, especially when there's a serious matter, but on a routine basis, the reporter is briefed before post-cab. Ask Mahir Stewart how many times he has been called overnight to say, all right, tomorrow is this and that. These are probably the first 5 things you want to ask if you get the chance. This, that. He's prepared. That's what editorial leadership is. That's what the editors ought to do. Name your favorite journalists over the past 20 years. Those who have come in as callow youth and have risen up the ranks. And if you name them, I can show you where those persons built up their competence and capacity by exposure at post-cabinet press briefing. So how is it that in this day and age, you have Minister so-and-so turning up to an empty room? On Wednesday, it was almost an embarrassment. Well, it wasn't almost. It was an embarrassment. Nationwide was the only recognized media house there. And then there was a young man from the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. And then they had to be turning to the people who attended the event, working, to be asking questions of the ministers. Shameful. And I remember a time not so long ago when I was president of the Press Association of Jamaica, and a report came to my desk to say government wasn't keeping press conference and we must make noise about it. And I'm saying, yeah, but when they keep these things, you don't go. And even when they're online, you don't go, you don't participate. The police commissioner used to hold court with the media. But they have slowly stopped doing that because nobody attends. And even if it's online, nobody asks any question. So what is happening to journalism in this country? And it's not the reporter's fault. Reporters take instructions. Young reporters in a newsroom don't call the shots. They are guided. But when their guide is short on quality, when their guide is lazy, and when their guide can't see the bigger picture because they lack vision, then the young reporter will not be in a position to do what is right. And I'm not absolving the young reporters of blame either, because if I was a young reporter in these organizations, I'd be asking my editor, well, can I go to post-cab? Can you assign me? Let me go. I want to go. Post-cabinet, when I was developing, was a plum assignment. It was a plum assignment. So if I was wearing a button-up shirt, come work every day, casual, relaxed, post-cab, the suit is coming out. Because it's a big occasion. It's a platform to advertise to Jamaica that I'm on the come up. To impress upon a minister that if you see my number calling you, you should answer because this is a sensible one who's serious about the work. That was my mindset. It's the same mindset that Fitzhenley had when he came into the business and I was showing him the game. And it's what the nationwide reputation has been built on. We take these things seriously. But it's being let down the effort because our colleagues are joking it out. So I'm eyeballing all of you news editors this morning and telling you that you have to do better. And those people who you report to would do well to listen to this commentary and demand more from you. I can't imagine being in a news organization where the government of the day, whichever government is in office, has a briefing to talk about what happened at cabinet and other matters, and I don't have a reporter in the room? How come? What am I doing? And this is how we trample on standards, and this is how editorial leadership gets knifed between the ribs repeatedly. As a fraternity, the media drinking a little bit of poison every day, killing ourselves. Not too late for us to stop. The putrefaction of the body that is journalism can be reversed. It's not quite gangrenous yet, or that's just because a few of us are like antibodies. We're like phagocytes, white blood cells, going to the site of the infection and working hard to prevent the disease or the infection from spreading. We will not stop the fight. What must stop is editorial laziness.